Okay, so what's the process? This is what we're here talking about, is what is the process to get from where you are, wherever you happen to be, to where you want to be?
The first thing that everybody's got to do, and we do this religiously, is you have to set goals and you have to make yourself write them down. And the reason you want to do that is because once you've written it down, there's something that happens in your brain, and that is that the brain records it as if you wrote it in ink on your brain, which is very cool, because when something happens that's within your goals and you're not even thinking about it, and you look up and go, wait a minute, that was in my goals. I need to latch onto that, or I need to take that thing home with me, and because it's part of a project I'm going to do in a year. So it's just so important to have those goals. And so we started out in the early years of our marriage having goals and creating goal setting. So when we wanted to start Blue Rock Station, we said, look, we've got to have a 10-year plan. And that was a challenge in the beginning, but it was really cool to think about and dream about all the things that were possible here. And many of those things have happened. And the reason for that is that each year we take that 10-year plan and we look at it and we say, all right, what's the next 10-year plan? And we can change it, we can reorganize it, or we can say, wow, we're right on target. So the first thing that you have to do is to create what's called a mission statement. And the mission statement is very powerful. It needs to be real simple, just a few words, and it needs to say what it is that you're going to do. So Jay, what did we say was our mission statement?
The mission of Blue Rock Station is we will only do what we want to do and have fun doing it. So
wait, we won't work for others.
Well, that's part of it, but because that's no fun. It feels a little bit trite, but it's been very, very helpful, because every year when we go through our planning, one of the questions Annie will ask about each task that we're looking at doing over the coming year is this still fun? And if it's not still fun, then we simply have to have the discipline not to do it, which has been difficult at times because, for instance, as an example, one of the ways we earned some money in the early days was doing straw bale builds. You know, we would do straw bale construction. And it got to be, after a number of years, not as much fun as we would like it to be. So one year Annie said, well, is it still fun? And I was like, I don't know. No, you know what? It's not. And she said, well, then we can't do it. I said, but it's half of our income. You know, you want to give up half of our income? And she goes, it does not meet our mission, so we cannot do it. And the universe is a funny thing, because once we decided we were not going to do this and give up half of our income, suddenly something else came into its place that was fun and actually generated more income than what we were giving up. So that seems to be some sort of, you know, whether you want to call it cosmic energy, or it freed up our motivation so we worked better or harder at something else. But it just feels that way, that once you turn loose of this thing that's motivating you, and it's motivating you solely for the pursuit of money, then things start to work out. The analogy I like to give, and we talked about this back in the days I was pursuing becoming a millionaire, and we finally gave that up, is it felt like we were in a boat and we were paddling against the current. And at some point we said, that's not the direction we want to go. Let's just let the current take us. And we were still moving, but it was easier and actually faster. And we got to look around and see the sights rather than paddling against the current. So you may want to just use that analogy in your own life, saying, what is this current I'm paddling against? And maybe that's telling me that it's the wrong direction.
One thing I'll say is it's not that simple to just get in the boat and paddle and go along with the current. You also have to say, look, other people have ideas. They know me, I trust them, and we're going to talk more about that in a little bit. But one of the things that we did before we changed course, when we said we weren't having fun anymore, was I said, let's call together a group of friends and people we trust, people who know business, who've been in our life prior to living here. One of our children was there with her fella, some of our former interns, people who know our work, people who we trust their opinion, and also people that we could be vulnerable with and say, we don't like this for this reason or that for that reason. And everybody came together on a weekend. We looked at every resource that we have. We used our cousin's boat and went down on the river and looked at the river. We went all the way to McConnellsville and ate ice cream so we could demonstrate what was there in terms of other activities in the area. And we were very honest, brutally honest about what we liked and didn't like about our work. And what came of that was a lot of really valuable feedback. And basically, they said, you need to move on, and especially to Jay, you need to get into solar energy. It's a pioneering moment. You need to go for it. And the very next day, we had more work than we could really do for the rest of the year. And it all came as the result of the fact that we were suddenly looking for the gold nuggets that were laying on the ground. Before that, we didn't see them because we weren't thinking about it. So friends and family can be a great resource if you use them in trying to figure out what it is you want to do while you're floating down that river on your boat. The second thing that you need to do is to create a vision. And that vision is, what is it you really want your life to look like? And for us, we wanted our life to be to look as if, because it's not really totally possible, we wanted it to look as if, we are trying our darndest to not take away from the future. And that's really the definition of sustainability. So we had to then come up with a philosophy, and that happened over time. Part of it was, first of all, the 10-year plan that we're going to create and utilize that 10-year plan. Sometimes we're going to make the decision. So first of all, lots of weeks on Monday. It might be a different day if something's going on, but we have what we call a meeting. And it's just the two of us. We're in the same house, but we have an official meeting. We sit down with calendars, we sit down with goals, we look at financials, we treat and are serious that this is a business, and it really is a business, and we want to make sure we're in line with our goals. And we might spend 30 minutes at it, we might spend an hour at it, but this is part of what has kept us afloat. It's also part of what has kept this Earthship, which is the main house on the property, in the public eye and creates revenue for us every single month in some form or fashion. The idea that we don't want to work for people we don't like, that includes our customers. So we live in a culture that says, oh, the customer is always right. Well, if the customer is always right, that means we're wrong, except we're the experts at what we're doing. So we don't have that philosophy. We want to focus on what people have in common with us and how we can reach some kind of agreement in that. And if we cannot, if you come here and you're not nice, I like to say, I like peace-agree instead of pedigree, and I have no problem to say we can't work with you.
And you need to feel comfortable in acknowledging that. Otherwise, it just tears at your soul. It just wears you down to the point where you no longer like what you're doing. And you should like what you're doing. Otherwise, what's the point?
Well, my guess is if you're watching this, you want to live in a different world too. And if that's the case, you're really going to need to think about a lot of these questions that we're raising. One of the things that we also use as part of our philosophy is to share our resources and share them freely. We do that through a number of different things, and it's just about being creative. So we do that through internships, so people can come here and live with us for 4 to 8 weeks and study really just living in a more sustainable way. And then the goal of that is for them to be able to go back out into their world and say, how do I translate what I've learned about myself within the world of sustainability and take that out and make something happen that's important and vital to me. The other thing that we do is offer our space to different groups, and we have what we call a free school the third Saturday of each month, where we bring in people that have not necessarily been teachers to teach things that they know that they really have an expertise in. And that is a win-win for everybody, because I love participating and learning new things, and so new people come, and they really love that. The other thing is sharing your resources as social capital. And we feel like we've got a lot of money in the bank if that's the case, because we do things like offer scholarships to some of our workshops. We trade and barter for services for some of our workshops. So it's really about building that social capital, and then living seasonally. So we try to live in a seasonal way. So in the winter, when things are really slower, and we should be slower, although this year we didn't manage it, but we try to live at a slower pace. And we also have a season, what we call Thanks for Nothing season, so that from the beginning of December until near the end of March, we don't always make it to the end of March, but we don't do any shopping. So there's no consuming. If we need something for our business, we will do that if it's absolutely necessary. But we try to be organized enough with an annual shopping list so that we can know, all right, during those 4 months of not shopping, this is what we're going to need for classes. This is what we're going to need for toilet paper or whatever. And so we have ourselves organized enough to do that. The thing that happens with that, and why this is so important to our philosophy, is that it removes us from the culture. It's like a vacation from the culture. We still celebrate holidays. We have a lot of fun with family and friends during different holidays, but we do it in a different kind of way. So what ends up happening then is, and what has ended up happening, is that we don't shop at all. If we need something, like for instance, I bought a pair of shoes, which I needed, at a thrift store, and I just fell in love with these shoes, but they're ready to fall apart. They have a size on them I don't normally wear. So now I must find a shop, which is an hour and 10 minutes from here, in the closest one, to go try on the shoes. And this is making me crazy, because I don't really want to go shop for the shoes. I just like to be able to say, I need those shoes. Does anybody have a size 7 in these trail shoes? And a lot of times, like the year my camera broke because one of the students dropped it, I just put something online and I got 4 cameras. People mailed them to me. So we're Americans, we have a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff that we're just keeping somewhere in our house or our buildings. And I would much rather shop with you, or trade with you, or barter with you, or like we have swaps with friends during birthdays. You know, those kind of things are fun. They build community, they build brand loyalty, if you will, and they make us feel good about ourselves. And we did not tell corporate America one single time, hey, I bought those shoes off that shelf and now you must make another pair. We never want to give that message if we can avoid it.
Another thing that could be replicated that we've put into our business model is, regardless of what you're doing to make a living, whether it's selling a product or selling services or selling workshops like we do, we try and work with other entities, nonprofits primarily, but not necessarily, and share the revenues from what we're producing with that organization in exchange for their marketing help. So for instance, when we offer a course, we may work with a nonprofit organization who then market to their membership, and then we share a percentage of the revenues from that workshop with them. So we try and pick organizations and people that we like, whose mission is aligned with our mission, but then it's a shared revenue, shared activity, because we're all in this together. And if you try and do it on your own, you will never succeed. I think a lot of people who go into the idea of living in a homestead, they think of self-sufficiency. And I'm going to go live in a cabin and stick it to the man and raise my goats and not interact with society. Well, there is no such thing as self-sufficiency. We need other people. We need community. So I think it's more a matter of self-reliance, where when things go wrong, you have the ability to react to them. But don't think that you're in this all by yourself, because you need to gather a community around you that will help in making your living on a homestead.
The other challenge is that if you look at statistics, just step out of your dream for a minute and look at statistics, you're going to see that unless you're good at doing some of the things that we've already mentioned, you are not going to be able to make a living. You're going to have to work off of your homestead for somebody else. And that's okay if that's part of your plan, but it's not okay if you're forced to do it. So I think it's really valuable to consider how you can share your resources to build community, because at the end of the day, it's going to help you to earn a living.